All right, buckle up, everyone, because this time on our deep dive, we're taking a bit of a detour.
Oh, a detour. I like detours. Where are we headed?
Well, we're landing right in the heart of Super Bowl Sunday, February 9th, 2025.
Okay, I'm already intrigued. So are we talking about the game itself, or?
Not quite. We're actually tuning into a comedy radio show from KCTK in Kansas City called, get this, Past Week, Next Week.
A comedy radio show. That's a unique choice. What makes it so special?
Well, think of it as a backstage pass to Kansas City during Super Bowl week, But with a whole lot of laughs thrown in. The hosts, Chris and Boogie, they've got this hilarious way of weaving together everyday life with all the Super Bowl frenzy.
I see, I see. So we're getting the local flavor, the real deal, not just the polished, televised version of the event.
Exactly. And trust me, they don't hold back. We've got some wild anecdotes, a surprising encounter with a certain Eagles fan that'll make you scratch your head, and even some thoughts on conservative women's makeup trends, all served up with a healthy dose of humor.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention. I'm always fascinated by how major events like the Super Bowl impact everyday life in the host city.
And that's what I love about this radio show. It gives us that insider perspective. Like, take Chris, one of the hosts. His week was packed with what he calls adult-ish stuff. Dinner parties, credit union board meetings, a highlight.
So grilling.
It gets better.
So he gets this dinner invitation from a fellow board member, and Chris is absolutely convinced it's going to be some sort of secret Amway pitch.
Oh, no, that awkward moment when you think you're going to a friendly gathering and it turns into a sales pitch.
Right, it's a classic. But the twist is, it ends up being just a normal dinner with neighbors, good conversation, and vegetarian chili.
Wait, vegetarian chili at a Super Bowl get-together?
I know, right? It seems almost sacrilegious. But hey, it's Kansas City. You never know what to expect.
That's for sure. It's those little details that really bring a place to life, wouldn't you say? Absolutely. And while Chris was navigating the treacherous waters of adult dinner parties, Boogie, his co-host, was dealing with his son's college signing days.
Ah, the circle of life continues, even amidst Super Bowl madness.
It really does. It's like this perfect juxtaposition of the excitement of the game and the milestones of family life, all happening in the same city at the same time.
It paints a much richer picture of Kansas City than we'd get from just focusing on the Super Bowl, doesn't it?
It totally does. And speaking of painting pictures, how about this? The hosts were talking about running into an Eagles fan in Kansas City who was born and raised there.
Wait, what? An Eagles fan in the heart of Chiefs territory? That's almost unheard of.
I know, right? It's like some kind of spork paradox. But it really got me thinking about sports fandom. What makes someone choose a team that's not their hometown team? It's a fascinating question.
It really is. Is it family tradition? Maybe a favorite player from their childhood? Or just pure rebellion against the expected?
Maybe a bit of all of the above. It definitely challenges our assumptions about how we choose our teams.
It makes you wonder if there's something deeper at play. Like maybe it's a way of expressing your individuality or connecting with a community that shares your values, even if it's not geographically tied to your hometown.
That's a great point. I think you're onto something there. It's about finding that sense of belonging, that tribe, wherever it may be. And it got me thinking about this idea of the bandwagon effect, too.
Ah, yes. The Super Bowl, with all its hype, can draw in even those who aren't typically diehard fans.
Exactly. Suddenly, everyone's a Chiefs expert, sporting jerseys and debating plays, even if they couldn't tell you the quarterback's name a week ago.
It's like this collective energy takes over, and everyone wants to be a part of it.
Totally. And you know what? It's not always a bad thing. It can create a sense of community, a shared experience that brings people together, even for a little while. What do you think?
Absolutely. There's something magical about these massive events that have the power to unite people, even strangers, in a shared moment of excitement and anticipation.
It's like a collective ritual, a way of connecting with something bigger than ourselves. And this radio show, they don't shy away from tapping into that. But they also get pretty real about politics and culture, too, all with their signature comedic spin, of course.
Now that you mention it, I am curious how they tackled that, especially given the always interesting political landscape. Did they take sides, or was it more about, using humor to highlight the absurdity of it all? So how do they handle that?
Well, it's less picking a side and more like holding up a funhouse mirror to the whole political scene,
I could see that.
Like they have this ongoing bit called President Trump's Promises Made, Promises Kept.
Okay, I can already tell where this is going.
Yeah, it's pretty much dripping with sarcasm.
Makes
Like
sense.
one example they talked about was how farmers have been hit hard by certain policy changes.
Oh, yeah, that was a big topic back then.
And they use that as a jumping off point to critique the whole political climate at the time, you know?
So using humor as a way to get people thinking about serious issues, it's a clever approach.
It's especially effective on radio, I think, because you can really play with tone and delivery.
True.
They also brought up this news story about lawmakers trying to ban government workers from using this Chinese AI chatbot on official devices,
Interesting. I remember that.
citing national security concerns, of course.
Right, right.
And naturally, the radio hosts had a field day with it. Their take was something like, well, at least this might finally bring us together.
Oh.
Instead of hating each other, we can all unite in hating another country.
Well, that's one way to look at it.
It's cynical, sure, but you have to admit it taps into that us versus them mentality that's always bubbling away in political discourse.
Yeah, it makes you think about how these political divides form and how easily fear and suspicion can take hold.
It does. And on a lighter note, they also shared this story about an NHL goalie who blamed a tray of cheesy nachos for distracting him during a game.
Wait, cheesy nachos.
Apparently, these nachos went flying out of the stands, landed right in front of the net.
Oh, no.
Caused the poor goalie to completely lose focus.
That's right.
They even played the audio clip of his post-game interview where he's like, "Come on, who can resist cheesy nachos?"
Wow.
It was a culinary assault on my senses.
That's hilarious. A good reminder that even in professional sports, things don't always go according to plan.
They don't. And speaking of things not going according to plan, they also had a Super Bowl trivia segment, and Boogie, one of the hosts, usually a trivia whiz, totally bombed it.
Oh, really?
It was kind of amazing to see even the experts have their off days.
That's true. It's humbling.
They were asking those classic trivia night questions like, which team has the most Super Bowl appearances?
The classics.
Who was the MVP of Super Bowl XD3? But Boogie just drew a blank.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Chris, his co-host, was on fire answering everything perfectly.
Sounds like a fun dynamic.
It was. And, you know, as the big game got closer, they started talking about their own personal plans for Super Bowl Sunday.
The pregame rituals and superstitions. Every fan has them.
Right. Chris was keeping it pretty low-key, said he and his wife were just going to have pizza and wings at home.
Nice and relaxed.
But Boogie, on the other hand, was going all out, talking about fried chicken wings, ribs, the works.
Sounds like a feast.
He was even inviting his brother and brother-in-law over.
Now that's a Super Bowl party.
It is. And it's cool to see how people celebrate in such different ways, right?
Absolutely. Some people like to keep it simple. Others go all out.
It's all about finding what works for you. But no matter how you celebrate, one thing seems pretty universal. The pregame jitters.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They were talking about potential jinxes, trying to manifest a Chiefs victory. You know, all the classic fan stuff.
It's like we all collectively hold our breath and hope for the best.
We do. And speaking of holding our breath, did they talk about the Kendrick Lamar halftime show?
I'm curious about that myself.
They did. And they even mentioned that the NFL doesn't actually pay the performers for the halftime show.
No way. Really?
Yep. Apparently it all comes down to exposure.
Ah, I see.
The Super Bowl halftime show is one of the most watched events in the world.
Definitely a huge audience.
So for artists like Kendrick Lamar, it's a chance to connect with a massive audience, gain new fans.
Makes sense. It's like a global stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They even talked about how Shakira and Jennifer Lopez saw their streaming numbers and tour ticket sales skyrocket after their performance a few years back.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
But it also puts a lot of pressure on the performer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All eyes are on you.
They were speculating about what kind of statement Lamar might make with his performance because, you know, in recent years, the halftime show has become more than just entertainment.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's often a platform for artists to voice their opinions on social and political issues.
And with President Trump in attendance, the stakes were even higher. They even discussed the possibility of a surprise guest appearance by Drake.
Whoa, that would be huge.
Can you imagine the drama?
The reconciliation.
The spectacle.
That would be epic.
A true Super Bowl moment for the ages.
Definitely. Now, before we wrap this up, I want to circle back to something we discussed earlier. Remember that diehard Eagles fan we talked about earlier?
The one from Kansas City?
Yeah, they brought him up again towards the end of the show, and it sparked this whole conversation about what it means to be a fan.
It's interesting, right? Because on the surface, it seems like a simple concept.
Yeah, you cheer for your local team, you wear their colors.
You stick with them through thick and thin.
But as they were discussing it on the show, I started to realize it's actually way more nuanced than that,
It is. It's not always about geography or even family tradition.
right? Sometimes it's about finding a team that really resonates with you personally.
A team whose values or playing style just clicks with you.
Exactly. And sometimes it's about the memories and experiences you associate with a particular team,
Those childhood memories of going to games with your family.
or the thrill of watching them win a championship with your friends.
Mm-mm.
It's amazing how powerful those personal connections can be.
They are. And it makes you wonder if maybe there's a bit of that bandwagon effect happening even with those who choose teams outside their hometowns.
Oh, interesting. You mean like they're drawn to a team that's super successful or has a certain star power?
Okay. Yeah, it's like wanting to be part of a winning legacy.
That makes sense. It's like we're all looking for that sense of belonging, a connection to something bigger than ourselves,
And sports can definitely provide that.
no matter which team you choose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to what feels authentic to you as a fan.
I agree. As long as you're passionate and respectful, that's what matters.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of passion, did the radio hosts ever reveal their final predictions for the game?
Oh, yeah, they did. And you could tell they were both super nervous, but also excited.
Makes sense. I mean, this was a huge game for the Chiefs.
It was. They were on the verge of achieving something truly remarkable.
A three-peat victory.
3 Super Bowl wins in a row. It's almost unheard of.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And they even played this clip from Rich Eisen, the sportscaster, where he was talking about the Chiefs' legacy
Oh, wow.
and the magnitude of this moment. It was really powerful.
I bet.
It really hit home just how much this game meant to Kansas City and to Chiefs fans everywhere.
I can only imagine. So did they talk about what a three-peat would mean for the team's place in history?
Oh, yeah. And they were blown away to learn that no team had ever done it before.
Wow, that's incredible.
It wasn't just about winning another game, it was about making history.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It definitely adds another level of pressure and excitement.
It does. But it also makes you realize that even if they didn't win, they had already accomplished something amazing.
True, it's just getting to that point is a testament to their skill and dedication.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that sometimes the journey is just as important as the destination.
And that even in defeat, there's always something to be proud of.
Well said. And as the radio show was wrapping up, I couldn't help but feel this sense of anticipation for the game.
I bet they did a great job of capturing all those pre-game emotions.
They did the excitement, the nervousness, the hope, the pure joy of being a fan. It was all there.
And they did it with their signature humor, which makes it even better.
You know, as we finish up this deep dive, I'm struck by how this comedy radio show actually gave us so much more than just laughs.
I agree. It was a real window into the heart of Kansas City.
We heard personal stories, political commentary, even insights into the world of Super Bowl entertainment.
All filtered through the unique perspectives of these two hilarious hosts.
It was a reminder that even in the midst of a massive event like the Super Bowl, there's still space for those genuine human connections.
For thoughtful observations and shared experiences that bring us together.
And it leaves us with some thought-provoking questions, too. What does it mean to be a fan? How do our experiences shape our loyalties? And in a world that often feels divided, how can we find those moments of unity and joy that connect us?
Important questions, for sure.
Questions that maybe we should all be asking ourselves, not just on Super Bowl Sunday, but every day.
Well said.
And maybe, just maybe, if we listen closely enough, we'll find the answers in the most unexpected places, like a comedy radio show from Kansas City.